First off, well, I wanted to thank Father Tim and Father Tomas for doing such a wonderful job. I have a couple copies here of what I wrote, and I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to do. Ronnie edited a few of them for me, so forgive me if I jump around a little bit. I played that song just now and had the sunglasses on, because if anybody knew my father, they knew that he was an over-the-top person. When Ronnie and I spoke about who we should get to do his eulogy, we figured it had to be a top-notch eulogy done by a top-notch presenter. So I stand here before you right now. Quiet, meek, humble, passive, submissive. None of these adjectives describe my father. Rather, vocal, headstrong, fearless, and hot-tempered would be more suitable. Despite his tough exterior, he was an extremely forgiving man at heart. You know, there was an author, Mary Mapes Dodge, a famous author in the 1800s, that was quoted as saying, "What a dreadful thing it must be to have a dull father." Well, I can tell you this, my father was not dull. Every day was filled with laughter, tears, fun, and anguish. We had a full day every day. So, I guess if you ask my father to describe himself, he would call himself a cross. He was very humble, by the way. He'd call himself a cross between Jake LaMotta, Rocky Balboa, and Al Jolson. And if he were up here right now with a microphone, he'd be singing a song, probably Mammy from the Jazz Singer. Speaking of Mammy, he loved his mother and his father more than life itself, as he loved us children. So it would be our Sunday ritual to go to my grandparents' house, pack in the Volkswagen, and drive to my grandparents' house for the day. His emphasis on family was unparalleled. Although we kids fought a lot, we would never do it in front of him. We fought like the Hatfields and the McCoys. That was not acceptable to him. However, it was not uncommon for my father to fight with his brother or my Uncle Harold religiously. He once sent my Uncle Harold a copy of the song Short People and put it in his mailbox. That was the kind of humor he had. Another time he challenged my Uncle Bobby to a push-up contest on Thanksgiving. Those were the types of things he did. His favorite prank to play was to call my Uncle Joe, who owned the plumbing business, and he would make us all as a family chant this in the back. We'd go, "Help, help, we're knee-deep in poop." Another thing he used to say to my Uncle Joe all the time, one second he's preaching to us about respecting your elders. The next second he's calling my Uncle Joe, and my Uncle Joe answers and he goes, "Uncle Joe, you're so old you fart dust," and he'd hang up on him. That was the kind of humor he had. Like I said before, there was never a dull moment. Now forgive me, there's some edited parts here I gotta get through. Okay. Oh, his hypocrisy. Like I mentioned before, "Do as I say, not as I do," was a famous line of his. His thoughts, if one of us got a tattoo, he'd cut it off. He had a giant tattoo on his arm, by the way, a paratrooper. His thoughts, if one of us ever rode a motorcycle, he'd kill us first. Meanwhile, he had a motorcycle and he'd pick Ronnie and Debbie up from school at the same time. I don't know if anyone's ever seen 3 people ride on a motorcycle. Not really too safe. His motorcycle was a Honda 750. It was a red one, and as Father mentioned earlier, he also had a blue one, but he had gotten in an accident with him and Ronnie. So a lot of you know Ronnie, that's what happened. I'll never forget my first bicycle that wasn't a hand-me-down, because I was the youngest. We went to Pete's Bike Shop in Comac, and there was one red one and one blue one. And my father said, "Randy, which bike do you want?" And I said to him, just like Arnold from What's Happening, I go, "What color is your motorcycle?" And so bread it was. And, you know, my father would tell that story over and over again. And he was so proud that I was looking up to him and that he knew that he was my hero. Just like Rocky had Butkus the dog, my father had a Great Dane called Genghis. And my father actually had an identity crisis. I think he thought he was Rocky Balboa. He would run by my elementary school every day with Genghis, just like Rocky did with Butkus. And he'd wave and he'd yell my name out. He ran by every day when I was at recess. And he did that intentionally, just to get a glimpse of me for a couple minutes or a couple seconds, and for me to get a glimpse of him. And I remember just standing there, beaming with pride, going, "That's my dad over there. Yeah, that's it. And by the way, that's my dog." You know, as we honor my father's life, I think I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my father's true passion, my mother. I'm sure that if my father were here today and were asked what the best thing about him is, he would definitely say my mother. Despite all of the ups and downs, and there were a lot of them, all of the good and bad, in the end, the saint, my mother, was right by my father's bedside, and when he awoke and asked her, she was right there. And, excuse me, I see their legacy go on in my nieces Gabriella, Angela, my nephew Matthew and Kevin, and my son and daughter Tyler and Hannah. And I know that through everything, he wouldn't change a thing. You know, and I think the fruit of all my father's hard work and sacrifice, and my mother's, and their legacy going on, is kind of reminiscent of how Jesus, you know, died for our sins, and so that we can have better lives and afterlives. And I really think that my father went through a lot of sacrifice, a lot of pain, and he would do it again to make sure it turned out this way. Thank you so much, Dad. I love you.